I know. I know. I know.
What the fuck happened?
In the past month, I have had the definition of biting off more than I can chew. I was trying to do like a million different things and it just wasn't working. And it has resulted in me doing a million different things on YouTube and not uploading a single one of them. So to see if we can save my YouTube channel's algorithm, let's go back to a classic. As you all may know, FNAF is a very lore-based franchise, that's basically what it's known for. And throughout the years, millions of theory videos have been made and pumped out into the YouTube scene. And obviously, with many YouTube theories, there are going to be some that hit the mark, and others not so much. So I thought I'd do a video covering a topic that I've already done before, and dive into more horrible FNAF theories. So here we go. The only reason that this theory was ever a thing was because of the Living Tombstone music video for It's Been So Long, where the puppet is depicted as the spirit of a mother, specifically the mother of a victim of William Afton. Even more specifically, the mother of Cassidy, which obviously she would go on to possess Golden Freddy. So this was known as like the puppet mother, or mother of Golden Freddy, or like marionette Golden Freddy mother theory. It was weird. Now surprisingly, this theory actually wasn't debunked until Pizzeria Simulator, where we found out that Henry is the mother of the puppet, not the puppet is the mother of Golden Freddy. But if you take a look back, we didn't really have a reason for this to even be a theory. The only reason that this was ever even a topic of discussion was A, because of a music video that obviously wasn't even canon, and B, because of a couple mini games within FNAF 2 where she's being a caretaker / guardian for the children that were murdered. But as somebody who's been in this fandom for at this point over a decade, if you're around at that time, you would know that up until FNAF Pizzeria Simulator, 99% of the theories that you made, regardless of if you were right or wrong, were just a complete guess. Now obviously there was a little bit more evidence to back this theory up than I'm kind of letting on, but really the brass tacks of it was because of the demeanor of the puppet, like in the Save Them minigame, or the Give Gifts, Give Life, where she's trying to help the children rather than just being like an animal like the others.
The others are like animals, but I am very aware.
So we were all kind of under the perspective of like, oh, she has this motherly instinct, she has this guardian mentality to where all of the children that were murdered were under her protection. And I guess I can understand why people would take that as a motherly figure type of spirit, but on the flip side, where do we see a mother dying? The only thing that I could point to when it comes to something like that would be Ballora, which most people think that Ballora is possessed by William Afton's wife. Which ironically, she was the only one to have those little mini Renas that were basically just a smaller version of the puppet, in terms of looks at least. So maybe they were onto something, I have no idea. Now as the closing statement, I think that the only way that you could really twist it to where a mother would be possessing the puppet is that maybe after losing Cassidy, she decided that she did not want to live anymore, and then she did something to herself and then possesses the puppet. But if you know anything about the nature of possessing an animatronic in this universe, you either have to be touching it or being completely inside of an animatronic suit in order to possess it, and the mother most likely would have been doing neither of those things at the time of her death. So that's kind of where this theory kind of falls flat on its face. It doesn't really make much sense. But that brings us to our next theory. When doing more research on this theory, I kind of found that it has the same nature as the Mike killer theory, which would tell you that William Afton and Michael Afton are both killers within the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, which was also debunked by Pizzeria Simulator. But basically, this theory is a byproduct of Scott not really having a whole story planned out by the time that he was making the first and second game. Not only that, but also kind of a flaw in a design choice. The first big problem was the newspaper Easter egg within FNAF 1, where we hear that they have a killer in custody, and then we just never heard about this again in the lore, like ever. So like, who the hell did they have? Another problem that's depicted not only in FNAF 2 but throughout a lot of FNAF games is that Purple Guy seems to look different sprite wise in almost every single game. And this is a problem that occurred in FNAF 2 and 3 when FNAF was already very popular around the internet. So when you're making games where at this point in the franchise people were only finding out clues about the lore through the video games, it's most likely not a great idea to confuse them with making one person have like 7 different designs. But hey, when is Scott not a confusing little bastard, huh?
Do you think you're fucking funny, you retard?
Regardless, the absence of any clarification when it came to the killer that they apprehended and so-called convicted, with also us not knowing that FNAF 2 is a prequel, so in our mind we think that more killings are happening while we are playing these games. And on top of that, there are multiple different sprites of this purple man, where he is pink, led multiple people, myself included at the time, to believe that there was more than one killer. This theory was sort of birthed out of Sister Location, where not only do we get the minigame where we slowly see Michael turning into like a purple corpse, but at the very end of the game, game, we see him look into the mirror, his eyes open, and they are purple. And then, like most of these old theories, in FNAF 6, we get the answer to our question, which is Michael is teaming up with Henry because he's actually trying to stop his dad, and then they burn his ass up. This leads us to our next, and probably my favorite theory to cover. So again, this isn't necessarily a theory, this was just like a rumor that had gone around because of a trailer that was fan made. Actually, it was quite the contrary, because some of these sound effects that we had heard within the FNAF 3 trailer kind of signified to some people that FNAF 3 would take place in a sewer, which obviously both of these theories would be wrong. But again, this theory kind of stemmed from a fan made trailer that had come out before FNAF 3 did, where it's supposed to like take place in some sort of giant mall, which, given the fact that this is one of the biggest hoaxes that Five Nights at Freddy's ever had, and that Five Nights at Freddy's is no stranger to making past hoaxes canon, that being not only in Steel Studios games but also in the movie, I wouldn't be surprised if this hoax inspired stuff like the Pizzaplex, which, looking at the trailer now, it would 100% inspire the Joy of Creation, which had not come out yet. Due to the fact that the models were those Splinks models that just weren't very good, very nostalgic, but weren't very good, the only people it really convinced were people that were kids at the time, such as myself. But because of the insane amount of attention that this video drew, a lot of people would take this map, which I'm pretty sure was just a rundown version of Liberty Mall from Left 4 Dead 2, and make other films with them, such as things with the Draw Kill animatronics. But it's been a while since you heard those names, right? You could really make a whole video on the types of theories that came from just straight up hoaxes. I'm talking about shit that just straight up did not exist. But alas, we are not doing that today, so let's go into the next theory. So there's actually a lot to go over when it comes to this theory, so I think it'd be better if I just read out the forum, which is the evidence to back up this theory, and then the problems with this theory, and then just talk about my opinion on it. Henry Emily has several connections with bears. Henry created Lefty, a suit to trap the puppet. This can be a parallel to Henry himself being trapped in a bear suit. Henry performed in a Fredbear suit in the novels. Under Henry Dreams, Henry literally dreams about being inside a Freddy costume. In the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigames, Fredbear is shown to have brown eyes, which matches with Henry in the movies and novels. Because of William's envy, he could have sabotaged the springlock suit. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Night 5, Ralph mentions that the staff is trying to contact the original restaurant owner, possibly referring to William, but this could imply that Ralph thought Henry was dead due to the springlock failure. It is not confirmed that Ralph was referring to William Afton. In the Silver Eyes, Henry Emily accidentally springlocks his own arms while showing them off to Charlotte and Sammy, albeit in a dream/flashback. Under novel clues, this could hint towards Henry having been springlocked in the games. In one of the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 training tapes, Ralph mentions a springlock failure at another location, possibly referring to Henry's springlock failure in Fredbear's Family Diner. Under Golden Fredbear, Golden Freddy and the puppet have multiple connections, which would be logical if they were father and daughter. This might explain how Henry knows about possession. Under Henry OMC and OMC Bear, this being both different FNAF theories, this may explain Henry's strange appearance as he is still in the suit. There are theories that there was a body within the Fredbear suit in FNAF 4, possibly Henry's corpse, since he's the only known one to have worn this costume. Under the witness failure theory, the bite victim witnessed one of multiple springlock failures, possibly including Henry's. Now in this forum it says technically the only problem with this theory is that the springlock scene in the Silver Eyes graphic novel only vaguely resembles Henry. But if we take a look back at past official art pieces when it comes to the FNAF graphic novels, stuff like Lady Fitzy's art, we can see that if this was Henry, he would look completely different seemingly around the same time. And as I said with all these other theories, this one was disproven with Pizzeria Simulator. It's actually insane how many gates Pizzeria Simulator just busted down when it came to theories. But because of all these theories just simply being disproven by Pizzeria Simulator, we gotta move on to the next one. Okay, so you know how I said I was gonna read the whole Henry got springlock theory on the forum because it was really long? Well, this one's about 5 times longer, so we're gonna read that one too. I mean, this shit has got a table of contents. You have number 1, evidence, number 2, problems, number 3, related theories, number 4, conflicting theories, and number 5, references. Obviously, we're going to start with evidence and then work our way down the list. Number 1, the dreamer of FNAF 4 has connections to both Michael and Bite Victim. Number 2, the nightmares seem to simultaneously represent people who harmed Bite Victim during his life and the FNAF 1 animatronics, which would make sense if Mike Schmidt and Bite Victim are the same person. Number 3, the character encyclopedia. The Bite Victim is described as the main character of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. He's terrorized by the nightmare animatronics. along with the artwork of the bite victim being menaced by nightmares of FNAF 4. The Night 1 phone call from FNAF 1 can be heard in the ambient noise as an Easter egg, suggesting that the player must have heard the phone call before for it to appear in his dreams. Number 4. An IV drip, a vase of flowers, and a bottle of pills can occasionally appear on the player's bedside table, which could mean that the player is hospitalized during the nightmares and hints at his recovery. Number 5. During the gameplay of the nights, it can be noticed that the player is very short, barely reaching the door in the bed. This strongly implies that the player is a young child, which would combine with the player being the bite victim. Additionally, the Steam page for FNAF 4 states, playing as a child whose role is yet unknown. Number 6. In FNAF 4, the Fredbear plush promises bite victim he will put him back together. In FNAF World, a pair of yellow eyes repeats this line and speaks similarly to the plush. Given FNAF World's connection to bite victim, the yellow-eyed figure likely represents the same being, warning the bite victim that it won't let the same thing happen again, likely referring to death, since possession and memory loss are less plausible. Number 7. This suggests that bite victim will be brought back to life. The clock ending reinforces this, with the player setting up clues for the bite victim to follow. Glitchbear's dialogue also supports this, implying that the player is guiding bite victim to find the pieces himself. When the clocks are all collected, the yellow-eyed entity says, "The pieces are in place for you, all you have to do is find them," implying bite victim must seek them out to complete the happiest day. Therefore, bite victim is likely the one playing the minigame within Five Nights at Freddy's 3, possibly as the Fazbear Fright Guard, aiming to free the souls and fulfill his promise to be put back together. Number 4. The events of FNAF 4's minigames and certain events from Sister Location's gameplay mirror each other. For comparison, FNAF 4 Night 1 and FNAF 4 Sister Location. FNAF 4, bite victim moves around an Afton property, that being his house. Sister Location, Michael moves around the Afton property, Circus Babies. Night 2, bite victim hides under a table and is confronted by a Freddy animatronic. Night 2 Sister Location, Michael hides under a table and is confronted by the Freddy animatronics. I think they actually meant like the little baby things where like he hides under the desk, but maybe I'm wrong. Night 3 of FNAF 4, bite victim hides under a table, sees Mangle in his sister's room and is jump scared by Foxy, which would obviously be Mike. Michael again hides under a table in Sister Location and sees Funtime Foxy, which is also just a fixed Mangle, and is jump scared by Foxy, that being Funtime Foxy. Night 4, bite victim is locked against his will in a room full of springlock suits. Night 4, Michael is locked against his will in a springlock suit. Okay, now that I'm reading these actually have like a lot of parallels. There might actually be something to this. Night 5, bite victim is brought by his brother to a dangerous machine, Fredbear, and gets badly injured. Night 5 of Sister Location, Michael is brought by his sister to a dangerous machine, that being the Scooper, and gets badly injured. Ending of FNAF 4, Fredbear plush promises to put crying child back together. Ending of Sister Location, Elizabeth tells Michael he won't die, and then he comes back from the dead. Damn, there's a lot of shit in this. Okay, we're not even almost done with the evidence. Funtime Freddy continuously refers to Michael as the birthday boy, which could be a clue to him actually being bite victim due to him receiving the bite of 83 on his birthday. The survival logbook was previously owned by Michael Afton, and throughout the book is what seems to be Cassidy communicating to Michael with multiple references to the bite victim in FNAF 4. On page 14 of the survival logbook, it states, "You know what they say, laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you'll cry alone. Make up some jokes for Freddy and his friends to make you laugh on the next page." And Michael replies with "not funny" in all caps. Michael reacting like this could imply he has a negative experience with being alone and crying. One page of the logbook asks Mike to come up with alternate explanations for common misunderstandings. Under the first, on "My child said Freddy bit him," Michael writes, "He slipped and fell on Freddy's teeth. Not our fault." Assuming this is referencing the bite of 83, Mike's response could be him using humor to cope with the trauma associated with the event itself. Many parallels seem to support this theory. In Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, the franchisee's avatar is a bear who is sometimes yellow. Under Mike FFPS, it would be Michael's. BV is also associated with yellow bears due to him owning a yellow bear and being bitten by a yellow bear. Assuming Mike-Bot theory and Golden Victim theory, BV, or bite victim, would be possessing a yellow bear. The BV bear, or BV, is more consistently represented as a bear. Under Funtime Metaphor Victim Theory / Funtime Afton's theory, Bite Victim is represented by Funtime Freddy. The franchisee / Mike is represented by Helpy, who is a miniature version of Funtime Freddy and is also a bear. This could be implying a connection between the characters. In the Help 1 and 2 minigame, First Aid, the player is tasked with giving Helpy a proper medical procedure to help him feel better. One of the randomly picked scenarios is beaten by bullies. This can connect to Michael and Bite Victim, as he was constantly bullied. In the Insanity ending of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, the franchisee / Mike is forced to have a lobotomy. In the image, the franchisee / Mike states, "Lobotomy, you barely know me." This could be referencing the fact that Michael has already lost his frontal lobe previously in the Bite of '83. Alongside this, both Bite Victim and the franchisee see something they shouldn't have, and that later causes them to lose their frontal lobe. Under the Staffton's theory, the headless staff bot would represent Bite Victim. Since his head was crushed by the Bite of '83, this boy noticeable wearing a guard uniform, so it could also represent Michael if he never worked as a guard. There would also be a headless staff bot under the stairs next to Michael's room, once again giving Michael a connection to the headless staff bot. When you enter Michael's room in Security Breach, you can see a show called Freddy and Friends on TV. Bite Victim can be seen watching the show and Fredbear and Friends FNAF 4. Furthermore, assuming that they are indeed the same person, Michael could be watching this out of nostalgia. There is a message on the wall in one part in which the author urges himself to not cry. Under Mike Wall code, this can hint at Michael being Bite Victim, as Bite Victim is infamous for constant crying, being dubbed as the crying child. Under the Flower Afton theory, I believe now we're in ruin. The Kid Flower, Bite Victim, is shown to be wearing a purple hat. Michael is associated with the color purple, so this could be hinting that they are the same person. The Kid Flower also has forehead wrinkles, 2 missing front teeth, and gray eyebrows, despite representing a younger Afton. This could be referencing Michael's slow decay in the sister location minigames, as he's losing his teeth during it. The movies can also be considered support for this theory. In the FNAF 2 movie, we see a picture of the Afton family, which shows Michael wearing a black shirt with white stripes, similar to the Bite Victim. This could imply a connection between the two, and the casting call for young Michael says that the actor should be approximately 8 years old, while Vanessa should be approximately 9 years old. Assuming the casting ages are accurate, this would make Michael the youngest Afton of the movies. If the Elizabeth Youngest theory is false, Bite Victim would be the youngest Afton within the games. In the character encyclopedia, there's a page for the Bite Victim, but not Michael Afton. Given that Michael is an important character, it is odd that he wasn't included. Therefore, this could mean that he indirectly appears as the Bite Victim. However, this is just a speculation. Okay, now we're done with the evidence. Oh my god. Now with the long-ass list of problems with this theory. Number 2, the novel trilogy and the movies established that the missing child incident souls attack all adults, even ones they were friendly with when alive. Cassidy might not have recognized Michael during the night shift. They could have recognized him later when communicating through the logbook after his shift ended, but this is speculative. During FNAF World, the Yellow Eyes, also known as Fredbear plush, tells Bite Victim that he's going to put him back together. In the novel trilogy, putting the pieces together is used by Michael Brooks to describe how Spirit is broken, which would imply that the Bite Victim is a spirit. This is further proven by the Shadow Beth theory. In Sister Location, there are 3 human bobbleheads that can be seen on the left side of the primary control module. These heads are also later referenced in the character encyclopedia. These bobbleheads could be interpreted as the representation of the Afton children. In the Staffbot silo and Security Breach under the Staffton's theory, it's possible to see a table surrounded by Staffbots, possibly referencing the Afton family. One of the Staffbots has his head missing, referencing the Bite Victim, and one of them has the outfit similar to the one Michael draws himself wearing in the logbook. This implies that the Michael and Bite Victim are different characters. Michael has been consistently shown having blue eyes, from his sprite and sister location to his depiction in the movies. That doesn't match Bite Victim, whose eyes don't even come close to that shade. Despite there being sprites with colored eyes in FNAF 4, he is depicted with brown eyes. Such a negative reaction to Laugh and the World Laughs With You, Crying You Cry Alone would also work if Michael was the older brother, since he would feel guilt over the conditions that led to the Bite of '83, as shown by him apologizing to the crying child in the end of the FNAF 4 minigames. It is possible that the statement on the page of the survival logbook isn't a reference to the bite of 83. The page states that Freddy bit the child, not Fredbear. Michael's excuse wouldn't make sense if the context of bite of 83, as bite victim was argued to have tripped and fell into Fredbear's mouth due to the size differences. The encyclopedia treats the withered and classic animatronics as separate characters even though they share the same souls, giving less credence that Michael being excluded means anything. The week before features an ending that strongly suggests that bite victim spirit still lingers. The golden bite also describes the exotic butters as molten, which could imply bite victim actually ends up in molten Freddy. In Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, there's a Foxy mask sitting next to the exotic butters in the vending machine, which could imply a connection between Foxy Bro and Michael. This could imply that the golden bite doesn't mean anything, as they imply both Mike Bro and Mike Victim in the same game. Okay, so that's the end of the theory. And holy shit, now I don't know. I was finding theories as I was editing this video, and I was not expecting there to be more evidence to back this theory rather than contest it. So now I'm going to go do more research on this theory, and I swear if I start thinking that this theory might actually be true, and it ends up being true, that is probably the biggest plot twist in the history of gaming, dude, I swear. Again, I want to apologize for my absence in the past few months. It's just been crazy, like I've been moving, and then I thought I was going to be able to do an audiobook, and then I was working on a documentary for y'all, and it's just like I was trying to do so many different, and I was also working on like music, and I was trying to do so many different things at once that I never finished a single one of them in time to post weekly uploads, and it just turned into this big like cluster freak. But would you be surprised to know that my next video is actually not going to be surrounding Five Nights at Freddy's? I ran a poll I think a month ago, asking you guys if you want more diverse topics, and then I misspelled diverse, and you guys said yes, like a lot of y'all. I think it was like 92% or something like that. And as y'all have voted on, it is not going to be at all surrounding Five Nights at Freddy's. It's going to be a completely different ball game that I will reveal once the video's out, obviously. Even with my inactivity on my channel, I've still been getting a lot of support, a lot of comments, a lot of subscribers, everything like that, so I just really want to thank you. It's really cool that I can just kind of dip out like that. I can still have a lot of supporters, which isn't good. I'm not going to try to like exploit that or anything. Don't do that if you're trying to grow your YouTube channel. But I just appreciate that even with all the stress that I've been kind of going through recently, I can still have a lot of people helping me grow my channel. So that's very cool. So anyway, yeah, thank you and goodbye. I saw him dancing with the girl that was getting low down.